Why do you hang around with the worst crowd, the worst crowd? It's gonna hurt me, 'cause you're with the worst.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of Third Man In, brought to you by Head Check Health. I am Mike Hickey, joined by...
It's Charles.
And of course...
Terry.
Today's a bit of a weird one, because me and TR have already recorded our interview.
I got so much FOMO.
And what a doozy it is. Bryan was on, Bryan Muir, and just some incredible stories about...
You would think the best story would be about winning a Stanley Cup with Ray Bourque, and I really don't even know. Put it this way, it certainly wasn't the most unique story because other people have done that. The way it opens up, I'm like, I mean it. There was
only 20 other people.
36 people. Exactly 36 people have done that.
But it's...
Well, on each year.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, only with Ray Bourque once.
What's that?
With Ray Bourque, only that one team.
Oh, yeah.
With Ray Bourque.
I guess that would be fair enough, but I don't know anybody that the opening story coming, Mike, do you know anybody? So that leaves one person that ever got their start in hockey with job.
With that job, especially. The other thing is that
you guys are killing me right now.
The other thing I know, because
I did so much homework for this too.
And I put it this way: he's one of my real good hockey friends. I've known him for 20 years, and 3 things in the first 5 minutes are doozies that I had no idea ever happened.
And what's also crazy is that his hockey career and mine are kind of inverted.
Oh, no.
Like the 2 years, the 2 years he missed as a kid are the only 2 years I played a minor hockey. So like,
I thought you were going to compare yourself to a Stanley Cup champion. There's like,
not even slightly. But it's a doozy, and it's great. And of course, we're actually recording this. We're recording this a bit early. This episode is coming, if you're listening to this, I assume it's going to be Tuesday, what day, the 9th, I think Tuesday is. Tuesday, July 9th is when this episode's going to
be the 11th, I believe.
No, that's Thursday. Today is Thursday. Today's Thursday, the 4th of July. This is going to drop on the 9th of July, and we're just recording a little bit early because I got some shit going on, and I'm going to be busy. But
what do you have going on, Mike?
I'm getting married next week, so I got.
How did you propose, by the way?
Good question.
Just kind of like tapped her on the shoulder. I bought a ring when I was working in Trinidad. And got home, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. She had picked me up from the airport, and we got back, and I was like trying to think of like a cool, interesting way to propose and all this kind of stuff. And I just got like so excited about it. We were like walking back to the couch, and I tapped her on the shoulder, and when she turned around, I was down on one knee.
Wow.
It was just, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait anymore. Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Where you reach to the other shoulder?
No, I didn't quite do that, but yeah.
Fake where you reach around to the opposite shoulder?
But yeah, so yeah, it's I got family coming to town, a bunch of wedding related things are happening. So we're trying to record a couple in advance here. So this one we're doing a week before. We might be doing another one hopefully for the week after.
So we're not doing a live during the wedding?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's a nice idea, but it's good venue for a live. So if we decide to do it, it might be be interesting.
Just checking.
But
you know what? I'll
get the justice of the peace.
Either way, I was going somewhere with that though.
I'll tell you a funny wedding story to start.
Okay.
My wife Danielle would be. We've been married now 12 years, I guess.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. Friend of the show, Danielle. We've been married now 12 years, I believe it is, or 10 years. Look how young we are. But anyway, so it was a great start. I asked her to marry me. I wrote her a poem. I wrote her a poem at the beach house, which was under Atlantica, and Jeremy Charles made us and he came in. He was the chef for that night. He was working, but anyway, he came downstairs because the beach house was rooms that were attached, and he served us. And I can't even remember if Danielle had realized that such a big time chef was being our waiter as well. But anyway, that was a good time. And the final words of the poem were, "Will you marry me?" So and yada yada yada, because there's a huge story behind all that. I don't even know if half of her story knows, but we went back, and we were living in Red Deer at the time. We were over here this summer, so we went back to Red Deer. And we decided to have a get-together back there. We had like one here and one there.
Isn't it at one of those get-togethers? Isn't that the story where fucking Asham almost got knifed?
Actually, no, but this was short. Asham found out that we were getting married, and he couldn't make it to it, so he flew back to visit us before the act happened, to wish us the act. Yeah, before we consummated. No. Like, so Ash flew back.
Just picture an Asham. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats, tapping me on the ass. No. So it was a beautiful engagement, was my point. And I guess I should slow that down. When I asked her, it was a poem. It wasn't like roses are red, violets are blue. It went on for like 5 pages.
It was Beowulf.
Yeah. And it wasn't like great poetry. It rhymed, but it went on. I tried to take her through a ride of our lives, and we had a really unique ride. And and the final 3 words were, what will you marry me for? But we could look at, and the rooms at the beach house, then there used to be a place in Portugal called Atlantica, and Jeremy Charles had just gotten a job there. He was the head chef. And, you could see out the windows, and there was, icebergs. It was that time of year. You could see the whole cove there over to Bell Island. So it was real beautiful. It was candlelit. It was awesome. But then we went out there, and I had just a bunch of my hooligan buddies in Red Deer, a lot of Newfoundlanders out working the oil fields and stuff. So, or from Fort Mac or Calgary or whoever. And all the people I knew out there already were hockey players. I wanted to have a party. So Danielle and I decided to have this reception thing in the middle of Red Deer. So my buddies come, guys, and I swear to fuck. So we're drinking beers in the afternoon. I don't want to embarrass her or family or anything, but I know and she's like, don't go just too crazy on stage. Don't grab the mic, and she knows I'll sing, and it's all good, like have fun and that, but you know how it goes. Don't take over. And I admit I'm that guy. I got to be on stage. Few beers in me, right? Few beers in me. Usually it goes fantastically. Everybody laughs. Everybody has a good time. I hand the mic over to someone more capable, and the night continues. But on this particular evening, my buddies, honest to God, Jason Hines is there, Brad Sturge, a few of the boys. And, I smoke weed. So I smoke weed. And now I guess that's not a big deal as it was at the time. And I really don't even mind saying it. Most of it is medicinal. I got my fucking prescription. But I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't want to smoke a joint right here. And like, there's all kinds of people outside, and it smells. And her family said, I don't know who's conservative and who's not. We live in Alberta. So, the chances are a lot of people probably don't want me to be smoking weed around here. Being a fairly conservative spot. So Heinze goes, well, I just here, take these mushrooms. So I'm like, perfect. So I swear to fuck. Now the poor girl, right, and her family's there. Now her brother Shane, who's a great guy. Yeah, I'm still, real good buddies with him now. Took a while to mend this fence though. So he gets up and he starts like, how you do, you start cheap shotting the groom, the fucking groom. Holy Jesus, get the marbles out of your mouth. So. Or his future brother-in-law, like future being like 2 minutes. So anyway, or I guess it already was. So he's kind of welcoming me to the family. And a lot of these people are coming. And Danielle's family's huge. Like she's out there now, and they have a great situation. They're, both sides are huge. Her dad has a ranch. They all meet there for like family weekends. And it's really, really, it's an event each time they all get together, which is most weekends. They're very, very loving family and everything, all good. So, but there's a lot of people there that I don't know. I'm like, friends, family, I don't know. Like I see my buddies, and all the hockey guys are kind of sitting together, and I'm going over to virtually everybody on the mid-90s Tri-City Americans are there. I told you a lot of them came from Edmonton, and all of them, man, like Mark Hurley and Mike Hurley and Ryan Marsh and down yada yada. I can go right down the list. All these guys are there. So, and they're hanging out with my buddies from here. We're also most part hockey players. So we go over. Now the mushrooms are starting to kick in, and I'm going fuck. Like I think I took too many mushrooms, and I'm going, this can't be real. This isn't happening now. And he looks over and he starts cutting me up and everything. And that's all I hear. So his speech goes on, and I'm just thinking, that motherfucker, I got to get him back. That's all I'm thinking. I got to get Shane back, right? And I can't even remember the cut. He probably said like, probably, I don't know, that I couldn't cook or something. It was something stupid. So I get up, and my opening line, I say, how fucking long did you wait at the draft, motherfucker? I said, you didn't even get drafted. This is it. This is my first line at my wedding, fucking talking to in Red Deer. And I'm looking at him, and like, because I get that he was kind of cutting me for that reason, but I'm kind of trying to do it back. But the way I'm grinding my jaw and the way I look, like, it doesn't look very funny, right? And I'm going, yeah. And I said, who's your favorite player or something? I said, Jerome again. I said, I had a fucking ham sandwich and a coffee before he got drafted. And I'm looking to, and meanwhile, now I look like the biggest asshole on earth, right? And I'm going like, and then I choose to go like this. Is this thing on? Because no one's saying anything, and I'm trying to joke, but I'm all fucked up. It's silence.
Wow.
It's crickets.
Oh, fuck.
So then my next thing, I swear to God, I was all fucked up, but this really, I remember word for word. I remember it like it was yesterday because it had such a haunting effect for the days to come. So I look at everybody, and I'm saying, you know what? I could sit here and talk about Danielle and I and how in love we are and how great she is, but you know what? You all expect that. So I'll tell you a story. And I was trying to be, and the story, you know how I digress, so I forgot what story I was telling. And it was going to be one that was good about her. But now it looks like I'm like, he said he didn't need to talk about her, but really I was going to. But then I was like, started talking, and I found myself in a dead end about like Ken Reed and like calling it, because Ken was out in Edmonton then, one of our guests. And we'd do call-in show on Tuesdays, or Trainwreck Tuesdays with Terry or something. So anyway, I started getting into that, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking about myself. I don't remember where I left this conversation. I came up here, and I'm fucking cutting up her brother, and I'm on mushrooms. Like, this is So I ended it somehow, guys. I went down, and as soon as I went to their bathroom, her father, Bruce, came in. And he said, if you ever do that again. He was pissed. Like, and he's a bull riding guy. Like, I'm a little bit bigger, but I'm sure he would have punched me in the mouth, and I would have deserved it. He's a bull rider for real. And but anyway, and it was it. And then I went back to my place with like Byron Brisky and a few more. He's the guy that jumped in for me when I got my head hit in that Seattle Thunderbirds video. When I got my concussion, great guy and everything, and we hadn't seen each other, so like it all seemed like it just turned into this big hockey reunion. And then I woke up in the morning, man, and Danielle was fucking pissed.
Understandably
so. Her family wouldn't talk to me like they shouldn't. I went over, I apologized to her immediate family, and then you just had to work on it. And like a month after that, we went up north and we visited her home in where she grew up in St. Paul and surrounding area. And it took me like a year or two to get back in the good books for that one. It was one of the most fucked up situations. I couldn't make fun of it. I couldn't laugh it away. It just took time, and that sucks.
Was it a Tuesday? Because that's the Trainwreck Tuesday.
Yeah.
All I'll say is my takeaway here is on the wedding day, don't take mushrooms.
Basically,
Yeah.
if I hadn't taken mushrooms,
now, fellas, let's not pigeonhole. Mike, let's not make any decisions before your big weekend here. Let's not.
And the thing is, to me, I've always considered them like not. I consider mushrooms kind of like weed, and they'd never really. Once I had a bad time, but there was other reasons going on. I just figured it just make me feel good, like it did at the concert in fucking Salmon Fest. Like it's just gonna perk me up a little bit. I'm looking like they're not that dangerous, So now, per se, everything's dangerous when it make you want to jump off a fucking rooftop. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wasn't injecting heroin. I wasn't doing coke or none of that. I was sitting there, and I'd done mushrooms before, and it seemed like a totally logical time to do them. And the spring turned into the summer. The days were getting longer. The boys were there. When Danielle and I got married, it still was a great feeling. I'm not saying that I wasn't totally in a positive place because we were getting married or I didn't love the girl and she didn't look great. It's just that mushrooms got in the way, boys. Mushrooms got in the way.
You know what? On that note,
concussions are serious business. Concussions and post-concussion syndrome had a huge effect on my career. Whether you're a player, a concerned parent, a coach, a risk manager, or an executive, they're a major area of concern. HeadCheck Health has developed software and services that improve the way concussions are assessed, tracked, and managed at all levels of sport. Their goal is to create a safer environment of play by giving better tools to the individuals responsible for documenting and assessing concussions and providing better data to administrators to make real health and safety improvements. HeadCheck currently works with organizations across the country like the Canadian Junior Hockey League, BC Hockey, Rugby Ontario, the Western Lacrosse Association, and more to advance their concussion management practices. If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com and tell them TR sent you.
Okay, so
You see, I thought that was going to be a wardrobe malfunction story.
No.
I've heard some good wedding wardrobe malfunction stories, but that's a first.
No, that one. Yeah, no, that one's a first. I like it though.
Well, hopefully you don't like it too much and you do nothing of the sort next week.
I can't imagine. I've never. That's one I've never done. Never done mushrooms. So I don't think that's the day to try them out.
Yeah.
Point of this story might be just don't do mushrooms, let alone on your wedding day.
Yes.
Let alone on your wedding day like I did.
Yeah.
Just don't do mushrooms.
I also have this very specific no speech rule, so that might help
no
too.
Speech rule.
That might help too.
I've never indulged. I had I think I got conned once in my youth. I went to a concert and it was like kind of a not quite a dance concert, but pretty close, like on the periphery of it. And one of my close friends, I'd never done them before. One of my close friends gave me a bunch because it was First Frost and the Goulds. For those who don't know and aren't from Newfoundland, they grow naturally out in the Goulds during First Frost. So I'm going to this concert, and I had a bunch, and I was like, geez, I don't know if I'm going to take these or not. And one of my friends who was, we'll say, well-versed in the subject matter, looked at me, he's like, no, you don't want that. You don't want to do that. Just give those to me. Like, you don't want to, this is not the time. And he just ate them all and had... he had a weekend and a half. Like, he went to the concert, he went missing, he went for a hike by himself.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I mean, and it was just funny. It's like, no, you don't want. Trust me, I know you. You don't want this. You're gonna have a bad time. Give those to me. And I just remember him like. There were a lot. He put them in a bag of Miss Vicky's and just went to town all by himself. Yeah, he's gone the whole weekend.
Yeah, no, that's
the problem. And you know,
that's the problem.
When you take too many of them and whatever. And I got to be honest, when I first went to Quesnel and I told you guys about, that's what everybody was into. I just never. I don't know. I know they're hallucinogenic and shit. I just never really gave them the weight that I gave every other fucking hardcore drug. Someone said them to me growing up. I mean, I'd almost put them easier than weed. It's just whatever context that you meet them in. When you, it's whatever context you intersect with when you're 14 or 15 years old, right? And sometimes something like too much caffeine will have, oh my God, like I can't believe you're having an espresso, you know. But to me, like people, you know, I went to Mary Queen of the World. People are doing mushrooms in grade 6. I didn't ever think much of them. I can pick them out of the ground, almost like licking a toad. You know, I figure if I can pick these out of the ground, like what's this daffodil gonna do? Like, I just thought it wasn't even anything that people did other than kids picking them out of the fucking ground and putting them in their mouth. I didn't realize the whole. You know, I did when I got married. I did for that story. I just when I was earlier in my life, they were a level of like ring pops. They were not even anything.
I had them literally grow in the backyard of my house. One time when the house I lived in, like when I graduated high school and like my first year of college, like that house they grew wild in the backyard.
Wow.
And like it got pointed out to me that I was like one of my buddies was over.
Got pointed out to you.
I didn't.
But you're
know.
like Barry Bonds. Didn't know the needle had roids in it.
Well, again,
I just put it in my mouth.
No, but I didn't. I know I wasn't taking them. They were just growing in my backyard. And somebody came over one day. I was like, one of my buddies. We were out having some beers on the back deck. And he's like, "Oh shit, those are actual like magic mushrooms." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, no, those are like the mushrooms." I was like, "Fuck, I didn't know."
Mushrooms.
And the next day I came out and they were all gone. So I'd have thought nothing of it, went on in about my day, and then like apparently overnight he came back and like swiped them all on us.
I had a university professor that was anthropology. I can't or one of those throwaway courses.
Come on now.
And
be nice to anthropologists.
What he found, it wasn't anthropology. No, it definitely wasn't
shit's
anthropology.
fascinating.
I don't know. My brief tenure in university was a long time ago. But when he found that I was from Newfoundland, he was just like, "Are you aware of the region where psychedelic mushrooms grow naturally?" Turns out he's a big enthusiast, and he was asking me and quizzing me about the Goulds.
Well, but not just the Goulds. Like out in Central, they're all over.
Did that have something to do with anthropology? Because I like anthropology, but
he was just my professor.
Oh,
no, he was an enthusiast.
I see.
He was. I don't think it was anthro. I don't want to.
If you were to study anthropology deep, I'd say you'd find a lot of social circles over the years. There was mushrooms involved.
I don't want to.
I didn't even really do them that much, guys. I've probably only done them twice since then. It was just.
Well, I'd imagine like it kind of got nipped in the bud after that one.
That would leave a lasting impact.
Be a little bit of a damper where you're just like, you know, like.
Do I want to do this?
I did at Blue on Water. Yeah, in a pizza one time too, a few years ago, and I'm not positive I'm going to do them again.
Keep us posted.
Puts me in a decent mood. You know what I did the last time I did them? I'll tell you. This is the time after that I did them. Okay, this is the time after that. So I figured I'd freak people out, and you could go to the It store in the mall or whatever it's called, and you can get these contacts that don't, like I bought like Michael Jackson Thriller eyes, so I put those in, and then we got on mushrooms that day, and we were drinking, so like I figured I'd freak everybody out that I was looking at because I'd open my eyes and I'd look like Michael Jackson in Thriller, the eyes would, so
That would freak me out.
yeah, but the thing is, I started freaking everybody out just like I wanted, and then they were like, Jesus Christ, like, are you okay? And I'm like, why do you think? Oh, I just took a few months. Like, of course I'm okay. I started to get really paranoid, and I was like, oh my God, look what they're looking at. Like, it's like I got a fucking neon sign on my head, and what am I doing? I need to blend in. I don't need to stand out when I'm doing this. So I went in the bathroom, and I couldn't get one out, so I took one out. I couldn't get the other out, and then I looked really fucked up. So everywhere I went, like, they're like, Jesus, like, look at the Terry Ryan's all fucked up. And the thing is, I was all fucked up, but like, I wasn't as fucked up as they thought, but I couldn't act like it because I looked way more fucked up than either one of us thought because I had a Michael Jackson Thriller eye in. I know. So
and the fucked up part is you're not allowed to buy those in Canada anymore.
Wow.
Really?
Those like consumer level, like fake
my
special
eye, to be
effect.
honest.
Yeah, you're not allowed to fucking use them anymore. Wow. They had to stop selling them at Halloween stores and shit. On set, like if you try to use them as special effect in a film, you have to have a certain makeup artist.
Quick kibosh. Anybody could buy them.
Makeup artists have to have like a special certification now and shit.
I
think some places still sell them, but you're not supposed to be using them and shit at all.
Before we started rolling, I was telling Terry about my eye injury, and you were in the other room. I'm dealing with an eye injury right now, actually. So the story of poking yourself is freaking me out. I was cutting up olives, and one still had a pit in it. I guess they missed it, and it's a 1 in a million shot. The knife goes down, the olive pit under the glasses, boom, right in the eyeball. People have been looking at me all day, wondering why it's like watering up and stuff, and they're like, "Are you okay?"
It's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that one. That's what you get for fucking cutting up olives.
Hey, man, big olive guy.
On the DL, imagine if he just couldn't make it in because olive pit.
He did,
That's
however,
as elaborate as my sports injuries get.
He did, however, miss the interview that we did today, which again is absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm bringing it up because we're going to cut to the interview now. We had a fantastic time talking to Bryan, and again, it's a great interview full of like some of the best. Like there's just so many great stories across the board, especially about how he wound up in the NHL and what he went from to the summer prior to when he's done his first season where he's played 5 games in the NHL is just absolutely nuts. The whole thing's wicked, and I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And so here it is now, brought to you by our good friends at Miller Lite.
Here's a few things to know when opening an ice-cold Miller Lite. They brew their beer to 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per 355 milliliter serving. And they also brew for great taste. It's this great Pilsner taste that's made Miller Lite a favorite for our beer drinkers everywhere. Miller Lite, 90 calories, 3 grams of carbs. It's Miller time. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure, and it's an honor to have my good buddy join Third Man In podcast this week, the former Wexford Raider, New Hampshire Wildcat, I think, Canadian national team, Hamilton Bulldog, Edmonton Oiler, Albany River Rat, Portland Pirate, New Jersey Devil, Chicago Blackhawk, Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche. I'm only halfway through the list. Hershey Bear, Manchester Monarch, Los Angeles King, Modo Hockey, Washington Capitol, Toronto Marley, Minsk Dynamo, Frankfurt Lion, of course, Stanley Cup champ, and I will say Republic of Doyle, Rebel, I guess, whatever the name of our team, for the Summit of Arts tournament in Toronto. Bryan Muir. Muirsy, thanks for doing this, my man.
Well, yeah, you actually missed one. You missed Espoo, Finland in there. That was a lockout year. You missed the other one in there. So.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What an adventure, hey? What an adventure.
Let me just tell you, I got the nickname Suitcase, and it fits me well.
I'd say, and actually, you've got some great stories. So I was fortunate you could come on today. Now I played with a lot of my listeners just to set it up. I have a lot of friends on here, and the way I know Muirsy is that we played in 2001 at the beginning part of the season, and I stress beginning because that's a crucial part of that season. I mean, I didn't end it with him.
You both finished your year in the Rockies. That's all we're gonna say.
We both finished the year in Colorado. I will leave it at that in the state of Colorado. Anyway, we played in Hershey together for a while, and it was a blast. But anyway, Muirsy, good to have you here. The first question I have to ask, it says you're when I was doing some homework, not that I need to do a lot on my buddy, but Winnipeg. And I thought you were from Toronto. At what point did you move?
Yeah, I grew up for 14 years in Winnipeg, and my dad's job took us as a family to Toronto. And that was actually a pretty crucial time in hockey. I was 14 years old, and I had actually gotten pretty sick. And I was just getting back into hockey, actually quitting for having not been able to play for 2 years from 12 to 14. Then 14 started back playing in Toronto.
Wait. What do you mean you couldn't play?
I had Graves' disease. So it started when I was 10. They diagnosed me when I was 14, but 12 and 13, I actually didn't play hockey for 2 years just because physically I wasn't able to do it.
What does that disease entail?
So it's a hyperthyroid. So my thyroid was just going crazy, producing too much thyroxine, which caused a lot of issues because they didn't diagnose it for 4 years. So whether it was abdominal migraines, I was bone rack skinny. My body was the doctor in layman's terms. The best way to describe it was like you're a car, you're in neutral, and your gas pedal is floored, and you're going nowhere. So you just burn everything up. I was like 110 pounds. It was pretty crazy how skinny I got.
Unbelievable. And I did not know this. That's a huge nugget of information.
And not only that, but to miss, like, those are two very formative
Holy
years.
Fuck, dude.
And then to come back, start playing again at 14 and make the NHL
So-
is fucking nuts.
And not only that, and he's overcame more hurdles than that. And I didn't even just So 12 to 14, you don't play hockey, a big DNP across your elite prospects. So
Yeah.
you end up as a Wexford Raider. That's in the junior league there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the old Metro Junior League, the Tier 2 Junior A.
So, Muirsy, at what point, I don't know if you were drafted to the O. I know you didn't play in the O.
No. I went to an O camp, TR, though. I did go. That was when I started to get back. So I started to turn into a man and mature and get some muscle back. And that was the year that I went. They invited me to go down to Owen Sound, and I actually made the team, but I chose not to. And I went back and played with Stan Butler for the Wexford Raiders because the ultimate goal at that point, I kind of realized that hockey was something that I was still good at, and coming back into my own and getting healthy again, I could still play. So it was something that I wanted to do was get a scholarship. So then that was the Wexford Raiders in the junior league, the Tier 2 Junior A league with Stan Butler. And I ended up getting a scholarship, which was, it all worked out.
And for those that don't know, when he says come into his zone, I'm guessing you played pro at what? 6'4", 215, 6'5", 220, something like that?
6'4", 230, yeah.
6'4", 230. Okay, so
Not bad considering you.
that's what I'm saying, to miss that time.
And
be
now
skinny.
now TR, I'm 262, so it's not bad.
Well, you don't look it. You carry it pretty well.
That's what everyone says, yeah.
I got to say, last time I saw you, I think it was last summer, and you look pretty good. It's not that 260 is bad, but you know, we hold ourselves accountable for these, extra pounds. Yeah, it's wild, right? It's wild. You're just used to it. So the Scully opportunity comes with New Hampshire. Did you jump at that, or were there all kinds of opportunities? Did you know at that point you were a prospect?
I had a couple offers. It was interesting because Stan Butler, the years, so 14, 15, 16, I played AA, and I wasn't very good, but I was still developing, and my dad kind of realized that I was a defenseman, and the only place I could play was a forward, and I had to get out of there. So I ended up playing for the GTHL, which was the kind of the AAA league, but I played for the worst team. And it's funny now, I'll tell this story just because this is a podcast, no one cares now, but back in the day, or still, you had to live in the area that you played, and where I lived, I had to play in basically the OMHA, which was not allowed to play in the GTHL. So my parents, it was funny because they owned a beauty school, and my grandmother lived in an old folks home. So we just basically bent the rules. I enrolled in the beauty school because you had to have a school and you had to have an address.
Christ.
So I lived in an old folks home.
No. This is like some Arrested Development type shit.
That's incredible.
That's
So
unbelievable.
that's what I needed to do to play in the Metro League, and then that's where Stan Butler found me when I started playing AAA and playing defense again.
Did you finish, or were you a beauty school dropout?
I was a beauty school dropout. I did not attend one single day.
Muirsy, I work in the film industry, and if any of my buddies are listening to this, there's the plot right there. There's the story.
Yeah.
A guy in the old age
CR,
home.
when you called me to do this, I was like, I jumped at the opportunity. I said, for people to hear my story, let's go. We don't have enough time, buddy.
Oh, that's incredible, though.
This
Shit.
is two, actually three if you
And then-
count the beauty school. Big pieces of
And
information. I didn't know.
a funny thing about that is one of the kids team actually tried to bend or to go and follow the rules and do it and change them to go play down there. And Dave Gardner, I think was one of the league. He actually camped out front of my house and had pictures of me coming out of the house and called the league and said, Bryan is living in Thornhill and playing in the Metro League illegally. And Gardner called up my dad and said, everything looks good here. You're enrolled in a school and you've got an address. All good to go.
Holy fuck, this gets better. And wait.
Yeah.
I gotta pause for thought here. When you say Stan Butler, are you talking about the legend that like coached in Brampton forever and then North Bay?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So he was a real hockey guy. So he was in Wexford before all that.
Yeah, that was kind of the start of how he got his name. He won 3 championships, part of the triple, whatever they called it. I was the middle one that we won that junior championship, and then he won one more, and then he jumped and went to Brampton, I think.
Interesting. So then you go.
He's still with the battalion.
Yeah, he went. Yeah, he took a little bit of a break, and then he went back. Now he's in North Bay. He
Yeah,
had some health issues, and then he went back. Yeah.
Mad. Yeah, because I'm looking, and yeah, it looks like he's pretty well through, but he's been just jumping around. So he was head coach, he was general manager, head coach, and now he's director of hockey
Hey man,
operations.
you hear his name come up in all kinds of conversations. So many prospects, Mike. So many prospects that he fucking took along, man. So but that's another part. I didn't realize he had coached Muirsy at all. So there's really no surprise. But that's like 5 great parts. Okay, the interview's over. Too much content.
8 minutes in, and we've already found like 5 things we didn't.
That I had no idea, and I know Bryan pretty well. So University of New Hampshire, what city is that in?
It's in Durham. It's about an hour north of Boston, just a little bit inland from the coast of New Hampshire.
And did you get a fly down, or were there other teams like did
Yeah, I went on some recruiting trips. I had like Western Michigan, RPI, Clarkson, Maine, a couple other ones. I can't remember them all.
And then what made you pick Durham?
Well, it was actually interesting because the family went skiing as a kid. We always used to go skiing in New Hampshire, and I had actually gone there a couple of times. And my dad really wanted to get me to go to school because I think he didn't want to have to pay for it. So he kept promoting it, and then UNH was one that came up, and I went for a campus tour, and I fell in love with it. And I'm not going to lie to you, the 3 girls to 1 guy had something to do with. They got a really good.
What a life. That's what you miss out on in
That's
junior.
a hell of a ratio for a school where you're a hockey player.
Yeah, well, and you're getting, like I'm telling you, I've often said, it's the vibe. It has a lot of that has to do with women, but the vibe that the college guys get to play around, it's a different atmosphere, and I've seen it like as a really loose and scout, I guess you could say. But I've just, over the years, after I played junior, I went to visit buddies, for example. It's a fucking life like no other. It's way different than a junior experience. I'm glad I did what I did. It worked for me, well, to a fucking point, but it did. But, a lot of people that go the other direction, I think it's a judgment call. Everybody's different. Ever get that question, Muirsy? Like, do you go major junior or do you go college? Well, boy, it's what your fucking the situation provides at the time. For you, clearly, college was better.
Yeah, and I could have gone junior, and it was something that I had chosen kind of early. To tell you the truth, guys, I really didn't have an aspiration when I got my scholarship. Like me for the NHL, I didn't even think about it. It was only when I got to college and saw that people were making it, and I was just as good as these guys, and I'd never been drafted because I kind of missed that boat with what happened to me. But I had, that college thing was a dream come true. I kind of attained the pinnacle for me. Until then, I realized I might be able to make the NHL. But I've talked to parents that have kids that are thinking about it, and they've chosen junior, and then they come back and say, "Oh shit, I should have gone college." And then I've had some that have gone college and then leave and then go to junior, right? So it's such a difficult thing to kind of predict.
Everybody's different, right?
Exactly.
Everybody has a different path. For me, I certainly can't complain. I get the pros and cons of both sides of it. And let's just say if you're fortunate enough to do one or the other, you've already become like 5th percentile in the hockey world. Yep. So that's the way I look at it. You're already what's the definition of success? It's in the eyes of the beholder. And, to me, if you've already made it to that level, there's a level of success that you've already achieved. When did you sign with the Oil then after that?
So, well, what happened was I went to UNH, and then the coach that recruited me was a huge fan. And my first year, I got a ton of points. I was doing really well as a freshman, and I was playing a lot. And then my coach, the assistant coach that loved me, ended up leaving and coaching the baseball team and didn't coach the hockey team. And then things kind of started to go sideways a bit the second year, and then the third year, it wasn't good. And they hired this new coach, and they were all a bunch of little guys, and I was 6'4", and this couple other guys were 6'4", 6'3", and they didn't like us. We looked big and slow, and they just didn't like it. So after my exit meetings my junior year, they came out of there, and I guess I should tell all this. I got in a fist fight with the coach actually on the ice.
Holy, whoa.
Yeah.
Yikes. Like over it's not none of my business what it was about, I guess, but it happened.
It was just he wasn't a fan of mine, and he was pushing my buttons, and I just kind of snapped, and then we ended up having an exit meeting, and
which is huge, by the way. I'll interject here, but for fans that don't know, I'm not talking to a goon here. I'm talking to a tough player but I could have, if I had Linger on and he said that, no one would be fucking surprised. But that means that, you were pissed off.
Yeah, I reached my boiling point, and then we had the exit meeting, and he basically told me, they sat there and said, you're going to be 6th or 7th or 8th defenseman as a senior, and college, you work for 3 years to become a senior to be kind of the go-to guy. And that's when I realized right then and there that, I can't afford to waste another year, as I saw myself possibly being able to do this for a living and sitting on the bench my senior year. I said, screw it. And I had an opportunity to go try out for the Canadian national team, and a bunch of the seniors were doing that. And lo and behold, I had to get a coach's endorsement, so I called Stan Butler.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, go. So, yeah, I got the endorsement from them, and I went to the training camp, and actually, who was on that team was Taran Sandwith.
Yeah, okay.
So Taran, so that's where I met Taran in the beginning. But the interesting thing was I hadn't left school yet, and Tom Rennie said, listen, after the first 5 days of training camp, he said, you've made the team, but you have to go leave school before I sign you, and then you can come to training camp and sign. And I was all like, I'm totally green to this. I had no idea what was going on. I said, no way I'm leaving school and not signing a contract. Sign me, and then I'll leave school. And he says, Bryan, he sat me down. And he said, listen, you're going to make the NHL. And that was kind of the epiphany point for me, is when Tom Rennie said it to me. He said, Bryan, you're going to make the Canadian national team worth something again, because we haven't found someone like you that can actually make it, that kind of shows that you can do it. So, there's been others that have done it, but he was very happy to kind of get me. And he said, so he paid me. They paid me the max, which is $24,000. They paid me the max. I got all the Olympic credits and everything, and a tax break. And then I had to go back and leave school. So I called my coach, and he wouldn't return my call because we had that fight and everything. So I was dating a girl from Boston at the time, and she went and lived on the vineyard. And I just said, you know what? How about I come down and visit you? And I think I had $130 in my pocket. I drove down to Boston, parked my car on someone's lawn in the front in Hyannisport, and hopped on the ferry.
Wow.
And then 11 weeks later, I realized that I hadn't trained, and I got a job driving. There's so many stories in here, TR, that I couldn't even begin.
Holy fuck, Muirsy. This is blowing me the fuck away. Elaborate on this little part, though, but this trip down to Boston with the $130.
So the first weekend I went out and drank my face off. I ran out of money, and I had no money to get home. Like, I had nothing to get across on the ferry.
Wow.
So I said, I got to get a job. So I was living in this house with 10 girls, and none of them had jobs. And they said, you're never going to get a job. You're illegal. I said, this is Martha's Vineyard. I said, they'll hire anyone. You just pay me under the table. So I ended up, first person I called, they said, listen, do you have a driver's license? And I said, yeah. Is it valid? Yep. So I went and met this guy, and it was an old man from England. And he said, listen, all you got to do is drive my painters around, and I'll pay you $10 an hour. So Terry, get this. So I'm doing this. Listen to this story. This is absolutely hilarious. So I'm driving this guy around. I drive for 2 weeks, and I haven't been paid yet. So I go to the guy, and I said, listen, I'm kind of being, pretty good here, and you haven't paid me in 2 weeks. He says, okay, come by tomorrow night at like 9 o'clock. Come by my house, and I'll pay you. So I walk over to the guy's place. I get in there. I knock on the door, and he's smoking a joint, and he's sitting there. Picture this, an old English guy with a really thick English accent. I walk in. He goes, have a seat. You want to smoke a joint? I said, no, I'm good. So we sit down. He grabs a bag of quarters.
Oh,
like
no.
$250 in quarters, and pays me.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What?
So listen to this though. This is where it gets
This
crazy.
is like the summer of '96.
No, listen, the summer of 95. 95.
Okay, 5, yeah, going into 96. Got you.
So I see everything on the ground, and there's all these padlocks and door locks, and there must be 30 or 40 of them laying around. And I see all these lock pick sets, right? So I take the money and I leave. I'm thinking, what the hell have I got myself into? I go to the bank, I cash the money in, I get cash for it.
Jeez,
and
you look like some
literally
low-level drug dealer. So walking
listen to this. So I'm walking out, and I look at the paper, and it says on the front of the Martha's Vineyard paper, someone's been stealing all the coins from the parking meters.
Oh,
and
man.
I just walked into the bank with a bag of fucking quarters. So I'm like,
Jesus
okay.
Christ.
So
Oh my.
I think whatever. Next time he's going to pay me in cash. So I go the next 2 weeks, and he pays me in quarters again. And I said, hey. And
I love
sit
how
down
you
and have a
kept
beer with
working
him.
for him, by the way.
Oh yeah, I needed the money, man.
Yeah, I hear
So-
you. Yeah, I would have turned a blind eye too. If I
So-
didn't.
So we sit down and we have a bunch of drinks, and I said, tell me your story, man. Like, what's going on? You're paying me in quarters. So he didn't fess up to that, but he goes, listen, here's my story. I just got out of prison like 6 months ago. I was in for like 6 to 8 years. I can't remember what he said. He's a jewel thief, and he loves picking locks. So he literally sat me down, showed me how to pick locks, gave me my own lock pick set. And then I didn't even ask about the quarters. I just said, can you pay me in cash? And he said, yeah, I'll pay in cash, because I think he figured out that I knew that something was going on. But I worked for the guy for all summer. He paid me. He was an honest, straight shooter, man. It was
Unfucking believable.
Jesus Christ.
And where were you Were you fucking getting in skating during this time? Because that's a major year in your career.
I did not. The funny thing is, I did not work out one bit. And
The
I
next
drank my
season,
face
you're
off
playing
and
in the
partied.
National Hockey League for 5 games.
And then I was part of the Fat Club when I got there, because Tom was so pissed at me because I didn't work out. And it took a lot of hard work to get there. But then, I signed with the Oil at the end of that year.
That is incredible.
That's
Not
bonkers.
what's
That's
incredible, you
absolutely
sign
bonkers.
with them, but people sign. Prospects sign. People with potential sign. But you're doing all this within a couple of years. You don't get drafted, and then you're like, your senior year, you're not going to play much. But all of a sudden, the Canadian National League comes. 24 Gs is like, yeah. But then you not only sign, you play. It's one thing to sign because and 3 years down the road, okay, he's getting his first games, he got his feet wet. But the next season, you played 5 games, and you were in. Not only that, you had to go into the American Hockey League halfway through the 90s. Like Bonvie and LaRocque are on your fucking squad.
Oh,
Like,
Well,
and the teams you're playing against, as a big defenseman, Brian, this is the thing. As a big defenseman, I know what it's like, because like Taran Samwith is very similar to you. For fans of Third Man In that don't realize that Taran Samwith was a guest a little while ago, and it's a great interview, and along the same lines.
And playing for Hamilton and the Oilers through the same time.
Yes, it's
Taran
great.
was, I think, the captain of the Bulldogs at this point, wasn't he?
Tom Rennie was a real link. But because I watched Sam, man, and like people having to come at him and stuff. Like for you coming out of University of New Hampshire, that would have been a hard thing, because all these big fucking goons wanted a big, because you're a big guy. You're fucking, you're a target almost.
I wasn't. Let's just say Taran was tougher than me, and I wish I was tougher, because I think I would have had a better career if I had been able to keep my squash together. But
Tough to say.
Yeah,
better,
I wasn't tough enough in the '90s. There, in the middle of the '90s, it was a bit of a gong show, and I mean, you played NEA there too, and some of the. I mean, I can tell you the craziest gong show on the Rock that we had was a bench clearing brawl with like 6 guys left at the end of the game. It was just. I mean, there must have been 15 or 18 fights.
In the old Memorial Stadium.
In the old Memorial. Yeah.
They have that. So that rink. So there's Mile One Center is here now, and it's downtown. It's a state of the art. Like it's a big. I'm guessing 7,000 people.
I think it's just under 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what happened was the folks here got up on arms when they were going to move and change out the Memorial Stadium. And Dominion had bought the building. So Dominion, no joke, the Memorial Stadium is still there. And you walk in, and there's still a score clock coming down from the middle where center ice was. It's just made into a Dominion now. But it's still, from the outside, the aesthetics that's the Memorial Stadium.
But isn't that the same deal with Maple Leaf Gardens? Isn't that how Loblaws now too?
Exactly. What they did was they actually Ryerson bought it, and then Loblaws went on the main floor. the rink is actually, so they still have the roof and everything to Maple Leaf Gardens. It's all still there. And the middle two levels are Ryerson's athletic facility and gyms and stuff. And then the top level, and so you still have the Maple Leaf Gardens. They painted the ceiling, but it's still all of Maple Leaf Gardens, the top. It's so awesome.
But so both the stadium where the Maple Leafs play, St. John's Maple Leafs played, and the Toronto Maple Leafs played in the 90s are both Dominions now.
One's a Loblaws and one's a Dominion. I don't know if Loblaws owns both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
I never thought about it like that, Mike. I should have, because here, the Memorial Stadium here is every bit the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, and I don't mean to misconstrue my thoughts of Maple Leaf Gardens, or have a lot of listeners think that I'm overrating Memorial Stadium. I'm just saying, relative speaking,
to the history of the community,
St. John's. Yeah, it's the folklore of it, what have you.
And both are fucking Loblaws now. Yeah.
But so anyway, so that happens. Now in 97, 98, in 96, 97, you're still in Hamilton. At some point you get traded to New Jersey, and I'm foggy on that move as well.
So that one.
I met you right after all this. I remember you talking about it.
Yeah, so I had played with the Oilers, and I kind of played in the playoffs. I don't know if you remember. I kind of got my break when we played Dallas. Do you remember when Brian Marchment hit his head in the door? I ended up getting called up for that, and I played against Dallas. It was a Game 7 winner. They won, and then we won, and then I ended up playing Colorado, and I knocked Peter Forsberg out in the playoffs that year. And then, so it kind of...
Okay, that was what happened. I remember you talking about that. I didn't know the circumstances. I didn't know that was the playoffs. Now I think I know exactly what you were talking about. And we'll go back and watch this after. Okay, so that happens, so that sets your career in a different direction, or you get traded? What happens?
Well, yeah, so then the next year I came and I went to training camp in Edmonton. I stuck around for a bit. I got called up for a bit, and then I think they realized they had what they needed, and I was going to get traded. So Lou Lamoriello, I was a throw-in in the Jason Arnott deal. So Guerin and Zelapukin for Arnott and me. Okay. And then I went to Jersey, and I went straight to Albany. I didn't even go to, and I had a really good time in Albany. We had a great team. Again, a real tough team in the 90s there. And, Skurlak and some guys. So,
I played junior against him. Furnace face, they called him. Furnace face Skurlak. I mean, his fucking face was so big. And I'm saying this and like it was hard to knock it. He was like, that was next level. Like I fight. He was an absolute fucking killer. I just didn't want him. All I was like, please don't let him connect. Please don't let him connect.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I played there for the end of that year. I can't remember what year that was. But then the next year I went to training camp and I made the team in Jersey. So I played in Chicago, and we're flying home from Chicago, and Lou Lamoriello calls me to the front of the plane and says, "Hey, I want to sign you." And I was like, "Okay, what? Have you talked to my agent?" He goes, No, let's just sit down. I'll sign you right now. And I was like, and I'd never done this before. So I sat down and talked to him, and he offered me 225, 250, 275 in the minors, right? Like, so on the bottom end.
Oh, that's great. At the time,
so
that's still good.
Well, yeah. But I said to him, I said, but I'm going to be like seventh guy in Albany. And he says, yeah. He says, we'll call you up when we need you. And I was kind of like, well, can I talk to my agent? And he's like, well, I'll give you a day. So I went back to my agent.
Okay. I misunderstood. Go ahead.
So I went back to my agent and I said, okay, well, it's 400 over 225, 450 over 250, and 500 over 275. And I said, well, that's like, it's not like $700,000 in the minors over 3 years, right? Not bad. And I was kind of humming and hawing. And my agent's like, you can make the NHL. You're good enough. You can make the NHL. Just don't say no. So I went back and I said no.
That's ballsy because I got confidence in you, but I know I didn't misunderstand. Those numbers in the minors, for those that don't know, those are great fucking numbers in the minors. That's security, Anyway, keep going.
So I rolled the dice, and lo and behold, he got really mad at me and sent me down the next day. So I was 10 days in Albany, 10 games, and I called Lou up. I said, listen, Lou, I appreciate, if you could just have a discussion with me. I said, I was honest with you. I know you're mad at me that I didn't sign. If you could just try and trade me, I'm going to play my heart out, but please try and trade me. And then, like 8 games later, I was traded to Chicago. And that's where I got back with Lauren Mulliken, or Dirk Graham and Lauren Mulliken. So I got traded there. And that connection, obviously, we lost the Calder Cup final. We lost in the Calder Cup finals to Hershey my first year in Hamilton, and Lauren was the coach. We had a really good team with Tran and a lot of guys there. So he vouched for me there, and then I played a year there. And this is what I want to tell anyone that is on the bubble a bit: never buy a house in the city you're playing in. So I signed a 1-year deal with Lauren. I walked in. Lauren became the head coach after Dirk got fired, and Lauren's like, "Don't worry, Brian, you're not going to get traded. You're not going to get traded." So then they signed me at the end of the year, and so that year I made $350, and then the next year I signed a one-way for, I can't remember, $450. So it actually ended up working out. I made a little more over those 3 years than I would have if I made the 700 signing in the minor. So I just want to go back. I came out ahead. But anyway, I signed my mortgage on my loft that I bought in Chicago downtown.
Oh,
the next year, and I walked out of the bank and I picked up the phone, and it was Bob Murray, our GM. And he's like, you got to get on a flight at 6 o'clock. You've been traded to Tampa.
Holy fuck! All like, this already. And by the way, for fans out there that know Brad Brown, we had Brad Brown on recently.
Oh, Brownie.
I believe Brownie was on that team too, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Brownie was on that team.
And which, by the way, so a lot of the people intersect. A lot of our guests. I like to point that out. But I remember Brownie said it was a decent atmosphere there. I can see how you would have gotten comfortable, and I can see how you would have been pissed off at Tampa Bay's Tampa. And I shouldn't say pissed off because it's all about opportunity. But a loft in downtown Chi-Town, for those that don't know, is like, and playing for the Blackhawks is just like. Oh, yeah, like that's the fast lane. It's fucking awesome. I just love everything about it. And so you get traded again.
My favorite city, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then going into a black hole with Tampa and Steve Lutzig. It's just the worst experience. Broke my ankle the first game. Lutzig hated my guts personally. Like it was. I've never had someone or a coach hate me so personally. Like it's PR. You have some people that don't like the way you play.
Yeah.
This guy had a personal vendetta against me. I'll never forget walking down the hallway after I had surgery. I'm on crutches.
In Tampa?
And in Tampa, in the locker room, he shoulder blocked me, would not get out of the way.
Oh, no.
And I was just like, well, anyway, so I'll tell you that story here. So the next year I battled through all my injuries. I had like 4 surgeries on my ankle. The next year I came back and I was playing really, really well. Confident. I played like 11 games. I think I had 7 points. I was doing really well. And Dudley calls me in after the 11th game and says, I got some news to tell you. I said, what? I said, have you been traded? He goes, no, I got to send you down. And I said, why? I said, I'm actually playing well. I said, my ankle's great. And he said, I'm so sick of hearing Steve Lutzig, how much he hates you. I need to send you down. And I said, okay. And you can ask Dudley this. I said, if I can't play on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we were the worst team in the league at the time, I said, if I can't play on this team, I cannot play at all. I said, fly me home to Toronto. I quit. I'm retiring.
No.
And I flew home to Toronto. And a week and a half later, I got a call from Grant Saunier, who was the general manager of the Detroit Vipers, who was the farm team for Tampa, where I was supposed to go. And he said, Brian, I need to talk to you. So we have a discussion on the phone. He goes, listen, Brian, you can play in the NHL. 90% of the organization knows that you can do this. Dudley loves you. Lutzig hates you. You just can't play here. We just need you playing to trade you. So come back. So 2 weeks later, I came back after I went down to Detroit. And that was kind of another turning point in my career. I said, all right, I'm going to prove to everyone that I don't belong in the I. I don't belong in the I. I don't belong in the A. I belong in the NHL. That's where I'm going to prove. And I was on a mission. And TR, I went out and I fought and I tried to do everything. Yeah. So after 17 games, I took I can't remember the kid's name. It was a Finnish kid. He cross-checked me in the face and broke my nose so bad that it split on the top. And Rudy, my trainer, came out, and I'm laying on the ice, and I'm like, Rudy, this is really bad. And he goes, yeah, it looks really bad because you could see inside my nose. And he goes, can you breathe out of it? So I go to breathe out of it, and blood spurts out of my nose on the top, right in Rudy's face. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh my God. So the guy, we go back in the room, and I had broken my nose like 6 times at the time, and I look at it and I go, if I do it now, it's not going to hurt. So I put it back in and moved it, and I said, okay. And then the guy, I said, sew it up. And he goes, I cannot believe, this was an intern guy. He goes, I can't believe you just did that. You're supposed to go to the hospital. You got to go to the hospital. I went back out. We played. I scored the game-winning goal.
Oh my God, that's hockey.
Fuck yeah.
That's hockey.
Listen to this. Listen to this. The guy got kicked out of the game, and the next night we were playing the Lake Erie Monsters again. And so my face is swollen shut. We go to Lake Erie. We go to Cleveland to play. And Brad Shaw was my coach. I'll never forget this. And I'm like, okay, guys, I'm getting suspended. I don't care how long it is. That guy is fucking dead. In warm-up, I said I'm going to fucking kill him. So
when you
I didn't even
snap,
time
you snap. I love it.
Oh, well, you have no idea. I was so mad. So Brad, he's laughing. He's joking around, laughing, going, okay, we're going to lose Muirsy, whatever. Because he was old school, right? He knew. So he comes in 5 minutes before warm-up, 4 minutes before warm-up, and hands me the phone. And I go, don't even fucking tell me. No. And I said, just hang up the phone. I'll take the call after warm up. I'll take it after 5 minutes. It'll take me a minute to get suspended.
Yeah.
And it was the GM for Hershey. And I said, I even asked, you can ask Doug Gaines. I said, Doug, can I please go out? If I get suspended from the I won't get suspended from the A. And he goes, yeah, you will. It'll carry over. You can't do that. I can't let you go out. So anyway, I never fucking saw that guy again.
Wow.
And if I ever see him now, I will punch him in the face and kill him.
Wow.
Because I never got to catch that guy again. But anyway, that's when I first met you. I don't know if you remember. I came when I came here.
Okay, so listen.
My face was.
This is it. Now, this is a pivotal part of the story, folks, because this is when I met Bryan Muir. So I had been on my own.
Intersection.
This is the intersection. This is This is where it all came together. So I had been on my own odd crash course. I had a problem with my AHL coach, whatever, yada, yada, yada. I got battled through injuries, battled through whatever. I'd started the year because I was on a contract holdout in Montreal now. Not for money. I just wanted to go. I shouldn't say contract. I just wanted an opportunity somewhere else. So I was playing in Colorado Springs in the West Coast Hockey League. Now, 2 years before that, actually maybe even the year before, I think I had 30 or 35 points in the A. So I had really no business being down there. But I did it because, the Canadians said they were going to trade me, and I didn't want to go to an AHL team yet. I just wanted to wait to see where I was traded to. So as I'm waiting, I fucking end up getting my arm skated over, and I'm injured. So now I'm like, oh, fuck. And literally, I still can put a nail through my hand. I could, whatever you want to do, I can't feel the right part, the left part of the right side of my hand. So I was kind of pissed off about that, but I come back. So now I'm just waiting to get the year over with and sign in the summer with somebody, because that kept me out of 20, 25 games. I can't remember. Whatever the case, Doug Yinks calls. That was his name, right, Doug, from Hershey?
Yeah,
And they said Mike Foligno's coaching. I knew a couple people there vaguely. Joel Perpick, Steve Parsons, Nick Bowman. I'd come across them. Yeah, exactly. Great guys there too. So, and I always had an affinity for hockey history, and I said, Hershey. So they called, and they said, and the worst was that one of their tough guys got traded or something, because they took in me, Parsons, and that Gary Goulash maniac. Remember he had like 500 penalty minutes in the United League? He just walked into the room. He walked into the room, and I was like, oh my fucking Lord. Like, this guy is, all he was there to do was drop the mitts. It was fucking insane.
He had 92 pins in 14 games that year with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
His face looked like a half-chewed caramel, that guy. I remember.
Oh, totally, man. And so, me and him.
I haven't heard face out of like a half-chewed caramel in a while. Fuck.
So I went in there. I didn't really know much. I was like, it's the A. Now again, 2 years before that, I'm Rookie of the Year in Freddie, and the year before, I'm playing in St. John's. Third liner. Still had some good points in like 50 games. So I'm thinking I'm coming in here. I'm going to get some ice time. But he was very honest and a very nice guy. And he just in junior, I played one of my peers would have been Brad Larson, but he was already signed with Colorado. So I don't really expect to play ahead of him. And I just kind of going along for the ride. So, but it turns out they did need some toughness. And I don't know, because first game I had to fight, I can't remember his fucking name, but he was a big, tough Raby, Matthew Raby, R-A-B-Y. And I was like,
oh my God.
First shift, second period. And I'm going, oh, fuck. So, but I'm in a hotel. So then I'm thinking to myself, I can't remember the name of the hotel or where we used to eat, but you were in the hotel for a little bit too. So
the Days Inn.
The Days Inn, yes. So I'm in there with Steve Parsons, who's on a total fucking crash course with life at the time. He was our guest too one time. So Paris comes out of like the not Canadian even CIS, like worse than that, like up in northern Alberta, like the Technical Institute colleges thing, like where no one goes to play hockey. He comes out of that because he can throw punches, and he's my roommate. And I'm going like, a couple months before that, or a couple years ago, I'm like a fucking big prospect. I'm playing in the NHL. Like, what the fuck? So, but you had all those things happen to you. And the stories that you've told me up until this point, other than the first few, because point is, like, we'd go for a night, we'd get up for breakfast and we'd go like, okay, we're living in a hotel. Like, where's this going to go? I remember, not that you had given up on it, but you're like, at some point, maybe I'll go overseas if I have to. And
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it. So this is crazy. So I am going somewhere for all the listeners. So basically, we're wallowing in our fucking sorrows.
Soros, I remember.
Yeah, and I figured about a month later, the guy calls me from Colorado Springs. My coach is Kirk Gunnar Tomlinson, and I'd started the year with Colorado, and they were going into the playoffs soon. And he, in that league, it really was the Wild West. I made more than I did in the A because, like, they'd just give you more under the salary cap. I was on the salary. There's a salary cap in those leagues, right? So I was on for $750 a week, but they were giving me double that under the table and then paying for it. So whatever it was, he called, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just fighting up here, and I'm going to go somewhere different. So, like, I wish Muirsy luck, shook his hand, and we had a good time, and I just skipped over a lot there. But I left, and I figured, hopefully he finds his way. Hopefully he finds his way. So, Muirsy, please tell us about the second half of the year. Again, I went back to Colorado Springs from Hershey, in the AHL. Now tell us about your second half of the year.
So, yeah, I remember coming in, and my face was spangled, and Doug Yinks and Mike Foligno were sitting there, and they're like, "Okay, we'll let you get healthy." And I said, "No, I'm good to play. I'm good. Let's go." And remember, I had made my mission at this point, right? Like I'm proving that I don't belong in this league.
Yeah.
So you'd played a couple games with me, and then you had been gone, and I really said, every night was just like, I have got to prove that I don't belong. So, lo and behold, I did really well. I was playing pretty tough, wasn't fighting that much, but fighting when I needed to and getting points and doing what I needed to do. So I think we were at 15 or 16 games left in the season, and Michel Goulet, who is the head scout for Colorado, comes down. And for anyone that doesn't know, this is Ray Bourque's second year after they lost the first time in the conference finals to Dallas the year before, and he wanted to win the cup, and he got traded to Colorado for that reason. So Michel Goulet comes down, and I got traded to Hershey for a 7th-round draft pick that Doug Yinks got from Colorado. They didn't even know who I was. So Michel Goulet comes in. I'm playing like a machine, and Michel Goulet comes in and says, "Doug, who is this guy?" So Doug says, "It's Bryan Muir. He's the guy we traded. We're going to try and win the Calder Cup. This is kind of the piece we need to win the Calder Cup." So he says, "Just hold your horses. I'm going to send some guys down." So then they sent like 6 scouts or 5 scouts down. They watched me for 11 games, and then they called me in. So Doug Yinks and Mike Foligno called me and said, "Listen, I got some good news and bad news." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. Give me the bad news first." And he goes, "We're losing you." And I said, "Well," I said, "it's after the trade deadline." I said, "There's no, I can't get traded." And he's like, "Well, you're getting called up." And I said, "What?" Because I never had any expectations.
Yeah.
So he said to me, he says, "Bryan," he goes, "Listen, there's 12 games left up there. You're going to go play the 12 games. And if they like you, you're going to stay and be 6-7 for the cup run."
Wow.
And I was like, "What the fuck? Are you kidding me?" And I'll never forget Mike Foligno. Like he looked at me and he goes, "Bryan, you deserved it. You played your ass off." And Doug was like, "You know what? I gotta admit, I wanted you down here to win the Calder Cup, but you can go get a chance of winning it. And if you play well, you're not coming back." So then that was fucking nervous as hell. I'm on the plane the next day,
To Denver.
and now you're playing for your life to try and stick around for the. So whatever, I got in a fight or two and tried to play tough, because the kind of the role I had to fill there was the 7th defenseman, 6th or 7th defenseman, and then ended up playing a little in the playoffs, and that was the year I won it.
And in the playoffs, Muirsy, so with all that uncertainty and like in the days in and going to Shakey's for a beer and, thinking about Europe. So
Yep.
You're sitting in there in the playoffs and I can't remember. So someone gets injured and like You're skating around. First of all, had nothing happened, just to be skating around in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
I mean, how? It must be. I mean, surreal. I don't even know where to begin.
When you put this whole story together, Terry. So think of it at the beginning of the year. I had surgery on my ankle the first year. That year, I got sent down from Tampa. I quit. I tell this story to kids. I said, never quit. I said, never quit. I said, if you believe in something, never quit.
Wow.
Because your passion and your determination will overcome everything. And it's really what happened with me, because I wanted to quit. Someone convinced me not to. And then I said to myself, okay, I'm on a mission. I'm going to do this. And hey, there was a lot of luck that was involved in this. I got traded by Doug for a Calder Cup run. Then someone saw me play. But if I had kind of buried it and said, you know what, I don't give a shit, I don't want to do this, I was playing out of my mind. So they liked me. Then I got called up and I had the opportunity to do that. And that year was the most, like, I went from the outhouse to the penthouse. I always say that because we were the shittiest team in Tampa.
Yeah.
And okay, I don't mean to run around, but so I was on Off the Record with Michael Landsberg one time.
Yeah.
And I told him about my beef that I had with Steve Ludwig, how much I hated him as a coach and I hate him as a person.
I love it.
So I said, if you ever get a chance to get Ludsy and me on, or if he's on, I said, you call me, I will quit everything and I'm going to come on.
Wow.
So I
love how your passion for that grudge, man.
I love
You're
it.
going, you know what, this is still going on, like that Finn who cross-checked you. Fuck you.
Listen to this, Terry. So he calls me and he goes, tomorrow morning we got Ludsy on. I said, I'll cancel all my work. I said, I'm in. Sign me up. So I got there. I wore my Stanley Cup ring. And this was the first time that Ludsy didn't have power over me, couldn't send me down, couldn't bench me, couldn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting there and Landsberg can sense that I'm jacked, like I'm heated, like I want to fucking go at this guy. Like I wish I could have beat him up right there. But anyway, so we're chatting and Landsberg asks me the story about getting sent down and everything. And I said, yeah, I broke my ankle the first game. I said, then all of a sudden Steve Ludwig just hated me and he's sitting beside me. I said, I've never had a coach. I've had coaches that have disliked the way I play, but I've never felt like I had someone that disliked me personally. And he looked at me and goes, yeah, I did. I hated you. I didn't like you.
Fuck.
And I was like, I said, all right. So then I said to Ludsy, I go, you know what, Ludsy? I said, it all works out. I said, you hating me as a player and hating me as a person
Yeah.
got me sent down. I quit hockey. I went and proved to everyone that I didn't belong in the AHL. I got called up by the Colorado Avalanche and then I held my ring up and I said, I won this. I said, I won a fucking Stanley Cup because you hated me. I said,
You're
you don't
doing
have
what everybody wants. Oh my God, keep going. I don't want to cut you off. Tell me what you said.
I can't believe it.
I said, I have something that you can never fucking get anymore. You'll never get one of these. And I said, it's all because of you. So I actually want to thank you on public television for sending me down and lighting that fire under my ass.
This is incredible TV.
This is, oh my God.
Oh my God.
And Michael Landsberg was sitting there going, his jaw was dropped because I was not being polite, really. I was
Yeah.
the one time you have power over them again, right?
Wow,
So anyway.
what everybody in in the world wants to do that has a fucking shitty boss is fucking, like
Oh my God.
either
I
punch
love
him
it.
out or
Yeah.
put him in front of a bunch of people and make him look or her like a fool. And you did it with a Stanley Cup ring on as you did it. Just imagine, you could not play on the worst team, and then you went to the minors, and you end up on the best hockey team in the world that year.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Not that you need to be reminded, but yeah, I just find that unbelievable.
And also, it gets to be like, it's also one of the most like famed Stanley Cup wins of all time, because where it was Bourque and it was a Game 7 and it became this huge thing that Colorado won that year. Not only is it just a cup victory, but it's like one of the like most memorable cup victories of at least the last 30 years for sure, if not all time.
There was definitely a story with Ray there, right? Coming back, he didn't want to retire, and then he said, "I'm coming back for one more to do it." And that Game 7, like you said, like we had to battle with Jersey to get to Game 7, then we had home ice, and I'll never forget Bob Hartley, do you remember
I
Bob
do.
Hartley, Terry?
Yeah, I do.
So Bob Hartley was a very abrasive coach,
Right.
and on that team, it was funny. I had a role, and they called me the Mule, and they had like Ray Bourque, Rob Blake, Adam Foote, Sakic, Forsberg, Tanguay, Roy, all these superstars, like Hall of Famers, and we used to call them the Thoroughbreds, and then we had like Larson, me, Parker, High Note, we were all the Mules, and Bob Hartley would beat on us like verbally, just because if Blake made a mistake, and then you'd never say anything to Rob, because Rob's making $10 million a year. You can't say anything because he'd just tell you to fuck off. But he'd come at us. He would like just beat on us. So Rob Blake one day says, "Hey, do you want me to say something to Hartley?" And I said, "Rob," I said, "honestly," I said, "we all have roles on this team. You go score. You do what you got to do. If I got to sit here and be a lightning rod so that he doesn't yell at you, just win the fucking Stanley Cup. Let's win it." And I'm totally happy being my role. So anyway, yeah, that ended up happening. But the last game, it was funny because Bob was so abrasive on everyone and just wearing thin. He was just like, everyone hated him, even the stars. So we called a meeting before Game 6, and like Sakic and I think Footy, Blake, and Roy were the ones that ran the meeting. So Bob and Jacques Cloutier and everyone walked in for the meeting, and Footy says, "Get out, kick the coaches out," and literally shut the door. And then we had 22 guys in the room, and said, "Guys, listen, this is Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We have to win this. We know this. We know what we need to do. Fuck the guy behind the bench. Forget everything. Go out and do what you need to do as a player." Like, it was the most amazing meeting, because it like got like hairs in the back of my neck were just standing up, because it was just like, everyone in this room knows what we need to do. The coach, he fucking opens the door, guys. Just go do it. And Ray was like all over the place, screaming and yelling. And then Game 6 we won, and then we brought it home for Game 7. And then that Game 7, I mean, Tanguay went out and lit it up. It was unbelievable. And yeah, so.
Holy fuck, what a story.
That's
and to be
fantastic.
in there. To be that was like the biggest sports happening for me in like, that whole era, because watching Bourque and to have like your buddy as like in there, not only on a fly on the wall, but like taking part. That's insane. And Muirsy, you come back so. And not only that, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just gonna say, one of the cool things about that too is, on top of everything else, you got the Avalanche got a special exemption for you, right? Because like you didn't have enough regular season games to normally get engraved on the cup, and they like requested permission for you.
Yeah, so that was actually really nice, because so my bonus, I don't know, they got like 180 grand or something for winning the cup that year. And half of it, actually, they gave to Adam Deadmarsh. So I only got half the bonus.
Is that because Deadmarsh was going through a concussion?
Well, no, he got traded before the deadline to LA for Blake. Remember? He got traded for Blake.
He got traded. I thought he wasn't done by that point. Oh, I thought you meant.
Yeah, so he was in LA, but they gave him half that bonus because he had played like 48 games or something. And I only played 11. And the reason is the exemption is because I played enough games. I didn't play enough games to be on it, technically, to have to be on it, but they can request it because I was there in the playoffs and I played playoff games. So
yeah,
no, but that's great though. And I mean, but again, what a fucking like section of that cup to be have your name on, right?
Holy
like that's fucking cool, man.
And then so then. You go in, the Kings end up obtaining your rights. And when that happened, I remember, because I followed you closely after that, and I was like, fuck, at least he's got his cup, because I figured, he's getting older, and he's in the AHL. And lo and behold, you overcome the odds again and come back in the mid-2000s with Washington for 2 years. What was that story, Muirsy? How did that come about? I'm skipping over your European experience. I just thought when you went there that you weren't coming back, but you did.
Yeah, well, that was a lockout. That was a lockout year, and it was always interesting because I remember you and I had that conversation about the flight to Europe, and I've always broken. Like, you can see the way guys' careers are broken down. They come, they sign, and they'll usually have 3 to 4 years, and if they haven't made it, it's either retire or flight to Europe or wherever you're going to go. So the first 3 years was the kind of Hamilton, Albany. Then I saw that whole crew of guys. Some of those guys go to Europe and make a lot of money. Then I got my next 3 years. It was in the NHL for a while, and it kind of up and down. And then I got my next 3 now starting with Manchester and the minors. And that's when I signed as a free agent with LA, and they sent me right down. And, that was a hell of a year. I think I had 50.
Fuck me, man. You scored a lot. That was your biggest productive year. Yeah, 13 goals, 37 fucking assists in 70 games. Wait.
penalty minutes.
141 minutes, Muirsy. All of a sudden, you're playing the best hockey of your career in the minors.
Yeah, well, that was kind of I got in a lot of fights that year. It was interesting, but we had a great team, and made the All-Star team. Played in Grand Rapids in the AHL All-Star game, so that was an honor. But I sat there and I said to I can't remember his name, Jeff Gilbert, I think was the GM or assistant GM, but he was the one that signed me. And I said, listen, I'm playing well. Like, why would you guys not call me up? Like, you called all these other guys up. And he literally said, it is what it is. And then sure, lo and behold, on Christmas Eve, they fucking call me, and I have to fly out Christmas Eve to LA. I play 2 games. I'm there for New Year's, and then they fly me home.
Fuck's sake.
And I was like, I was just like, you fucking assholes, man. Like, to get 2 fucking games and to miss Christmas and everything and leave. But anyway, that was that year. And then the next year, after that lockout, the game of hockey changed. We know how that they took out the red line, and
that was the most significant change of the modern era, in my opinion, was that lockout.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. And you know me, as I'm a big guy, but I can skate really well. Is the one thing I can do. So the game really changed in favor of me, because if you were big and could skate, now I didn't have to fight as much. It was about mobility. Yeah. And I went as a free agent. I literally packed up it was absolutely hilarious. I packed up a 1995 Volkswagen Cabriolet convertible with all my shit, and I went on a tryout to Washington. And it was the same kind of thing as when I said, I'm going to prove that I don't belong here. I said, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just going to make this team. And there was opportunity there. I actually knew this is why I wanted to go there, because there was opportunity. And lo and behold, I made it. And then they signed me to a one-way that year. And then the next year they signed me again. And it was 2 fun years of my life.
And those were Ovi's first 2 years too.
Yeah, like
right?
for those listeners that don't realize, there was, so a lot of these guys, it was Ovi's first couple of years. It was, goodness, I'm looking down the list. So Peter Sikora was still playing. But who else? Halpern is there, Bryan Muirsy, Chris Clark. A lot of these guys are younger guys, Ben Clymer. They played on a couple of other teams, but I believe that a guy like Bryan Muir probably came in and provided a little bit of leadership. And then Brian, years later, so to see Ovi when he first came in, full of and others on that team, but say Ovi, for example, full of piss and vinegar, coming in but didn't really know how to lead or win, but you knew. That's one thing that you finally must have, when you saw him win last year. It must have. What was that like? Looking like at one of the kids that you kind of brought up, finally get that feeling after such a career.
It was nice to see for him, because he, I compare him to Sidney Crosby in a sense, because Sidney, they came in at the same time, but Sidney had Mario to mold him.
Yes.
Ovi didn't have that. Like, he had Bryan Muir as one of the older guys, Ovi Kolzig, right? Like it's not quite the same, right? Like living in Mario's basement and having him guide you is a big difference.
I can't even imagine. No.
Yeah, Ovi had a lot of learning to do, and I think that he was given too much rope. If he had really had a strict coach in the beginning, I think they would have been able to win earlier, but they let him do too much. And, he could go out and score, and when he scored, scoring cures all ills, right? It just doesn't matter. You can get 50 goals and be minus 50. They won't care because you got 50 goals. Yeah. So that lesson was learned, and the irony of this, I used to talk to one of the owners all the time of the Capitals, and he goes, why can't we win? And I said, you guys don't play defense, and Ovi just, it's like you're shorthanded when he's out there. I said, it's impossible to play. I said, you can't. So lo and behold, they got Barry Trotz as a coach, and I said, wow. I said to him, you guys have a shot now, because this guy actually can coach. He can actually coach and play defense, and he held Ovi accountable. And I think that Ovi understood that in his age now, that, listen, sometimes I don't need to score all the goals to win. I just want to win.
Yeah.
And he had a great supporting cast.
Totally. Like when I look, I was a Sid bigger Sid fan earlier in their careers, but again, I was very aware why Sid was where he was, because I mean, can you imagine having that kind of leadership and to come into it? And Ovi had to overcome a lot more barriers and also kind of take the bull by the horns himself. But what a fucking leader! Now I love watching him. I'm going to skip over the Marlies here, unless you got something huge.
The only good thing about the Marlies, well, not good, the bad thing was I was actually going to retire. Jeff Jackson and John Ferguson Jr. called me and said, "Hey, what's wrong with your foot?" Because I broke my foot at the end of my Capitals career.
I do remember that happening, yeah.
So McPhee didn't play me, and Fergie Jr. calls me and says, "What's up with your foot?" I go, "It's fine. I missed 19 weeks, and it's good." He goes, "Have you been skating?" I said, "Yeah." Lied to my teeth. I hadn't skated once, hadn't lifted a weight. He goes, "I want you to come to training camp." And I said, "Why do you want me to come to training camp?" I looked at the roster. You guys have 9 one-ways on defense. I said, "There's no point. I'm not playing in the minors." And he goes, "Just come to training camp. I'm working on some stuff." And I was like, "No." I said, "You guys have 9 one-ways. Not a chance." I said, and then I was in the NHL before, so they had to pay me only $99,000 because they couldn't pay me. I said, "If you pay me $350, I'll go do the thing for the minors and be the leader."
Yeah.
He goes, "We can't, because then you have to clear waivers and all this crap, all the rules." So anyway, fast forward, they kept bugging me. The day before training camp, they said, "Just come to training camp." And I said, "All right." I have 2 sons. I said, I want my son to see me play 1 game in Maple Leaf Guard and to get the ACC in a Leafs jersey. That's my goal. And he goes, "I can't promise you, but I'll see what I can do." So Paul Maurice was the coach. Guess where I played? I played in Edmonton and I played in Detroit. Never played at the ACC.
Really?
Training camp goes through. We're flying back from Edmonton. Maurice sits me down and goes, "Hey, we're not going to sign you." I said, "That's okay. Okay." So he just grabbed my bag and I went home. Jackson calls me. He goes, "Are you serious?" He goes, "You had a great training camp." I go, "Yeah, but you didn't sign me. So what's the point? I'm not going to play in the minors." And he said, "Bryan, just trust us." And I said, "I don't trust any of you guys. You guys all lied." And literally, I was doing my own contract. You can ask Jackson. He goes, he could not believe this. I said, "You guys all lied through your teeth. You're going to say I'm going to get called up. You're going to pay me $99,000. And I'm going to go beat the shit out of my body down in the minors, riding a fucking bus, playing against 20-year-olds, and I'm 36 years old. Not a fucking chance am I doing that."
Yeah, man.
And so he's laughing on the phone. So Fergie Jr. calls me. He goes, "Listen, here's what we're going to do. We'll sign you to $99,900. If anyone comes with another contract, give us first right of refusal. We will rip the contract up and you can go sign." So I said, "That's not a bad deal." I said, "If I'm playing hockey, I can sign."
And you're from Toronto.
Yeah. So I had a house there.
The team being the Marlies, I guess, for those that don't know. So you're still in Toronto.
Yeah. So the first 13 games, we win every game. I'm thinking, wow, I lost my Calder Cup finals my first year. Maybe my last year I can win it. So I said, screw it. I'm just going to play, and I don't care if I get called up. So anyway, I'm playing really well, and I'm playing Hershey. This kid slew foots me, knocks me unconscious. My kids are in the stands watching. I get carted off the ice, and guess who is in the stands with a contract to get called up because Bryan McCabe just broke his wrist at 4:00 that afternoon in a Leaf game.
No way.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
And listen to this. I'm waking up in the room, and Fergie Jr., Mike Penny, and Jackson walk in, and they're kind of shaking their heads and they're laughing at a bit of the same. And the guy said, Fergie Jr. says, "You called us liars?" He goes, "I just want to prove that we're not liars." He put a contract in front of me that they had drafted up because Derek Walser, Staffan Kronwall, and another guy were all on one-ways. And he said, "Bryan, here's the contract. Bryan McCabe broke his wrist this afternoon. We were going to sign you to this contract so we could call you up right now." And I said, "Okay, you never saw what happened. I didn't get knocked unconscious. Give me a pen. I will sign it right now. I don't care how concussed I am." And they said, we can't do it. And I actually would have been a Leaf, and it would have been a dream come true.
Wow. Well, hey, you know what? There's a lot of dreams that came true on the way that trumped that dream, even though, that's a pretty big dream, but, Stanley Cup all the way. Now, just the last thing, so I know I really appreciate you giving us over an hour of your time. It always flies by. So the next year, did you start in the KHL and go to the DEL or the other way around, and why?
No, I started in the K. So Jim Hughes, who was the coach of mine at the Marlies and the Manchester Monarchs, went and got a job there. And that's a funny story. So he called me August 8th, and I'll never forget it. He goes, can you be in Finland in 2 days? And I said, "What?" He goes, "Can you be in Finland in 2 days?" And I said, "I'll be in Finland if you pay me $500,000 I'll be in Finland in 2 days. So he went to the owners, and then I signed in the KHL, and then I was in Finland in 2 days. And that's how I got there.
Wow. And, I mean, incredible. So all this is happening, I guess, by 08, 09, Muirsy, you're in your late 30s. And you come back to North America. Now, did you go right to Toronto? This is where I started coming across your path. Where I see Muirsy, probably once every year now, doing alumni events or playing a hockey tournament or something. So, and now I ran into you with my buddy Ryan Graham. Now, are you working in finance up there or something?
Well, I'm not anymore. I've actually invested in a small startup. It's called Advisor Stream. It's a startup that I invested in, and I'm doing head of sales there, and things are going real well.
And are you still living in TO?
Still living in downtown TO.
I figured, and it's a great spot for a lot of people that follow, I guess, or you like the legends of the game and things. So the NHL alumni are pretty good, and they're out of Toronto, and Toronto being obviously a big hub. It's great for ex-Leafs, but also just for ex-players. I go there once in a while and do like a golf tournament, whatever it be. I might be speaking or whatever it might be. But Muirsy does a lot of that too, and it's a great spot that you live, I must say, for being an ex pro hockey player, because there's all kinds of guys there. There's all kinds of events that keep you in touch with the game. And why don't you tell people a little bit about that? How many do you do a year?
Yeah. The alumni is a great organization that helps guys, and what they do is they give back to Special Olympics. And what we do is we play games, and we go around from Thunder Bay to Fort Francis to Sudbury, Timmins. We go all over the place, and we'll play games against the first responders, whether it's law enforcement or corrections members. They give the money back to the torch run in the Special Olympics, and it's raised, I think, $3 million. So it's really fun to do, and I enjoy keeping in touch with the guys and playing hockey. So,
do you still play a lot of hockey, just shinny and stuff like that?
No, I got a 14-year-old son now that's he's in the U.S. development program now, so we're going to be going on to Buffalo. But he's been chasing me around to play, so I've had to get on the ice with him every now and then. But that's what all I do.
Okay, and what else is on the horizon for the summer? That sounds busy enough. You got anything else coming up?
Nothing. That's it. It's going to be chasing him around and getting him ready to go play, because he's now at a point in his life where he's going to have to start making decisions, and I'm getting excited for him.
Okay, well, listen, that's fantastic. Before I let you go, just a couple of quick takes here. Who would be the best coach then you think you've ever had?
Jim Hughes.
Jim Hughes, okay, and do you still?
And he's the father of Jack Quinn and all those guys. He's Quinn just went first overall.
Totally.
That's his son.
And so not Ludwig.
Yeah, Ludwig.
Not Ludwig.
And what of all that time, what was probably you won the Stanley Cup, so that was the most fun. Let's say your favorite road city. It's too hard to judge the ones you played in. What's your favorite
road city? Montreal.
Where?
By far. Montreal.
Nice. Good answer.
Yep. Yeah. You know that.
I do, but I love it anyway. I always wondered, though, Muirsy, early in my career, I always wondered, this is the only place that I've been. So I was like, is this as cool as it seems, or is everywhere like this? But then you realize everywhere isn't. There's some great spots, but anyway.
What about, because if we don't ask it for him, he's going to get upset. Okay. What's your favorite home city? Of all the places you played, what was your favorite city to live in and be your home spot?
Chicago.
Okay.
Chicago is a great spot. I just when you were telling me the story about having to leave and after buying a loft downtown, nonetheless.
Yeah.
Oh God, just so much to do. Just so much everything to do. Whether you're watching a fucking ball game, you're collecting records, or you're going to a restaurant, or you're going out to get shit faced. Either way, it's a fucking great time. Listen, Mike, unless you got anything else, that's it for me.
I'm good, man. This was I gotta say, Brian, thank you so much for taking the time, because
thanks.
You've got some gong show stories here that have just, it's everything
great.
from working cash under the table for a fucking diamond thief.
That was great. That started the best
yet.
That started the best yet. And the thing is, guys, this is Brian. And I mean, you've got 1,000 other things on the go that are also very, very unique. And we didn't even go real spiral out of the way here. Brian could almost be a guy we could have on for a second guests. There's all kinds of players on those lists, guys, that he played with that are fucking legends. That I'm sure there was some things happening in those dressing rooms.
Yeah, we could get into that another time.
We will. I'm going to have an all-star season 2 or something, and yourself, you'll be at the top of the list, buddy. Thank you very much for helping us out, and I'll see you later in the summer when I'm in TO for various reasons, and we'll go out for a beer.
Give me a ring, buddy. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks, Brian.
Penny Posh, maternity wear reimagined, breaking the barriers of style, fit, and comfort that often leave mothers-to-be uninspired in their new wardrobe. Penny Posh's designs have reinvented a clothing category often seen as disposable, temporary, and unattractive. Well, not with Penny Posh. Check it out. A continuous fit maternity collection from bump to bundle and beyond. You can check them out on Twitter at Penny_Posh, on Instagram at PennyPosh_maternity, and of course on their website, www.pennyposhdesigns.com. Penny Posh Designs, maternity wear reimagined.
So again, huge thanks to Brian. That's such a great interview, man. I can't believe you missed it, Chuck.
Wow. I was so good. They played it all for me right now.
We didn't. So you missed all those great stories about like working for a diamond thief.
What?
And calling his coach out on national television, and that's not the coach you got into a fist fight with.
Shit,
and
okay, did anyone bring up? Okay, is the diamond thief thing real? You're gonna actually? That's real?
You're gonna have to listen to find out.
It isn't so many words, but we're not going to bore the listeners.
Shit.
We're not going to read the story twice with them. Yeah.
I wish I was here because Robbie Robertson of the band, the band, we talk about the band a lot. He got tangled up in a diamond smuggling thing during his time in the band.
This wasn't quite the same as that, but still, interesting story.
Inadvertently,
so go back and listen to this episode now.
I gotta wait until Tuesday, like the rest of us.
But like I was saying trying to say before, and then I got sidetracked and I couldn't remember what I was talking about. What I was trying to say is that we recorded last night. So the episode that you guys heard on Thursday, that dropped last Thursday, when you're listening to this now, where we talk about some free agent stuff and all that sort of thing. We recorded that last night, and we didn't have a guest, and we talked for a little over 2 hours amongst ourselves about a whole bunch of stuff. So with that, there wasn't that much to kind of revisit here right now, where we're recording a couple in advance. So
nothing happened today at all.
I mean, Kawhi still hasn't announced where he's going. We were like trying to refresh feeds on that.
Cody Cece signed at the Leafs today. I'm sure everyone was fucking waiting on that.
I was bated breath, bud. So for the sake of this one, then I think the biggest thing is to thank Brian for coming on, and thank you guys for listening. TR, is there anything you want to run on this one? Anything we didn't get off our chest last night that we want to?
Ooh, boy, I guess there's a couple of things, but yeah, no, I don't think anything I got to say would probably be like a half hour, man. Honestly, I'll just save it. I'll save it for the next time we do an episode, which will be real soon.
Okay. Very soon, in fact. So until then, you can find me at Hickey, Mike.
I'm at Smokes and Doors.
At Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter and at Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram.
And we are at 3MI Podcast. You can also find all kinds of stuff at 3mipodcast.com, including shirts and all kinds of cool shit.
Blouses.
That have funny sayings, some of them have our logo. It's some cool shit. So
some
you can head there.
Some of them might get us sued.
Maybe. But until next time, we'll be back to shout at you about hockey next week. Thanks for listening.
Worst crowd, the worst crowd.